Now, removing trouble codes from a Ford vehicle is a little bit different, but there are a couple things that are identical, and that is having your notepad to make sure you can write down the trouble codes so you can refer to them later on, and also make sure that you have the manual for the type of vehicle that you have so you can look the codes up and know where to begin your diagnosis. Now, Jim, the ALDL on Ford vehicles is not located under the dash, is it?
No, it sure isn't. It's, in fact, in the engine compartment, and really it could be located almost anywhere, Scott. Sometimes there is a small connector that's marked EEC test, and the diagnostic leads will be plugged into that connector, such as we have here. And I'm just going to reach down and remove those. Sometimes you need a small screwdriver to pry the connector loose.
Okay.
Other times, simple thumb pressure will get the job done. And if you don't have the little cap that says EEC test, these connectors will just be hanging into the engine compartment. So look around until you find them. And these are the connectors that we use to put the vehicle into diagnostic mode and to get out the codes.
Okay.
Now we're going to need a tool called a code key for that. Now here's the code key, and I'll insert it into the connector and put the vehicle into diagnostic mode. One end of the key gets plugged right into here, and the small connector gets plugged into the other end of the key, just like that. Now we have just put the system into diagnostic mode.
But we don't have a light that's flashing codes yet, do we?
No, we sure don't. Now, some Fords, though, have a check engine light that will flash, like GMs and Chryslers. But most of the cars out there don't. So we'd like to show you how to get the codes out when you don't have a check engine light on the dashboard. And for that, you'll need a simple tool. This is a Ford EEC4 diagnostic connector. It has a little check engine light on it that will blink out the codes. And besides that, it has two electrical connections. A small one, the green side here, which we'll use to plug into the diagnostic connector, and this is where the codes will come out, and we plug it right into this terminal here.
Okay.
And the other end, which is a large alligator clip with red markings, goes to the battery plus terminal.
And I'll hook that up over here.
And now you can see that we've powered the system up, the light is on, and we're all ready to get codes from this car. All we need to do is to turn the ignition switch on to the run position, but not starting the car, and then the computer will turn all sorts of solenoids and things on and off, and then when that's done, we'll start to get codes.
Okay, let me go turn the key on, Jim. Okay, there it is. We can hear some of the solenoids.
Yep, there goes the fan.
Kick the fan on and off.
Now we'll start to watch the light, and then we'll get our codes. 1, 2, 1, 2. A 22.
Okay, I'll write that down.
1, 2, 1, 2. Another 22. So that code's been repeated twice. Now that's the end of our on-demand codes. In other words, what's wrong now?
Okay.
That light we just saw is a separator code. There's a long pause, a separator code, a long pause. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Okay, so
22.
it's giving us a 22 again, so that's the same code.
1, 2, 1, 2. 22 again. Now, after the long pause, what we got was memory codes. So that 22, not only is there something wrong right now, but it was also in the computer's memory.
Okay.
So now we know that we have a part that we can look up in the manual that apparently isn't working properly, and at least we'll know where to start our diagnosis of this vehicle.
Now, code 22, Jim, says we got a map or barrel sensor problem. And here it is on this vehicle, and what we've actually done is unplug the electrical connection to make our code 22. So before we go any farther with our engine run test, we've got to correct our earlier problem, don't we?
That's right, Scott, and in this case, all we have to do is plug the sensor back in. And by doing that, the map barrel sensor is back in the system, and when we start to resume our testing, the computer will think that we've repaired the problem.
Okay, now the same thing could happen if you had a bad or open circuit wire going to your mapper barrel sensor, or if the mapper barrel sensor was bad or defective. So you would have to correct that problem before you go on to the engine run test. In our case, it was an unplugged connector, so we've reconnected it, we're ready to go on.
Right. Now the next thing we'll do is the engine run test. We're going to run the engine and let the computer see if it can find anything else wrong.
Okay.
Now, to do that, the engine has to be at full operating temperature, so you're going to have to run it for a few moments to get it up to temperature before you can do your tests. Now, this engine is pretty warm still from when we pulled it in, but we probably should run it for a few moments anyway.
Okay. Why don't I go start her up?
All right.